Hey, today we have some news about the recent patch. We'll discuss Arrowhead's response to the flamethrower concerns. For those who don't know, they've made another change to it, and unfortunately it's even worse than before. The developers are fully aware of this and have admitted it was a mistake, so there's a lot to cover. Please support the channel by tapping the like button, subscribing, and clicking the notification bell as well. Alright, so as you all know, the latest patch, 01.001.004, contained a few changes and fixes. For example, the crashing should be officially patched. However, the flamethrower, on the other hand, has received an interesting change, but also has made it 10 times worse. If you look right here on the notes, it says, fixed an issue where flamethrower particles would ignore enemies. The issue was when the enemies turned into a lower resolution version at some distance from the player, they stop colliding with the fire particles. As you can see on paper, it doesn't sound too bad, so what exactly is going on? Well, a few players have recently noticed that the Flam 40 is now useless on chargers because the hitbox is completely messed up. So I had to give it a go and see what the problem is. Now, to be fair, I recently made a video about this and said there were no significant changes, but that appears to not be the case. The reason I felt that there were no changes is because ever since the Escalation of Freedom update, it's been terrible, so to be quite honest, it was difficult for me to distinguish between the differences. Setting that aside, what you'll see here in this clip is that I have a flamethrower equipped and some stuns as well. The stun grenades are there to make it easier for me to get behind the charger so I can use the flam. Previously, you could actually use the flamethrower on the back portion where you see the orange weak spot. Now, after the recent update, it's no longer the same. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look right here, I'm going to try to stun the charger, go behind, and start toasting the bug's back end. You can see here I'm roasting the orange part on the back, but the problem is, the hitbox, for whatever reason, is not registering. We can see a red X hit mark occasionally, but nonetheless, no matter what I do, the charger will not go down. So what you have to do now to take out a charger is you will need to hit the tip of the tail, not the actual large orange weak spot. So if you do it right, you should be able to inflict enough damage until the charger begins to flip over. It's a bit odd, and so the developers have been notified about this because both the community manager and support team member have informed us all about this. We can see here on the Helldivers 2 Reddit page that the support team member B Vitamin wrote, "Hey, thanks for the video. We've gotten these reports from you and some other players and have reproduced this issue. So it's now on the radar. Devs will look into this and see what needs to be done here." And if that's not enough proof, then the community manager Twinbeard responded to a player on the official Helldivers 2 Discord who brought up the current issues with the chargers and how the hitbox is bugged. Twinbeard posted this on Discord with this response, "Yeah, there's something there. We've asked the devs, what gives?" Now, that's not all, because the community manager has notified us all on the Discord that he will be able to answer more questions and will do so later after his meeting. The community manager wrote, "Love to be back. Right now I can't keep up with all the queues, so we'll get back with some more replies later. Meeting now. Thanks everyone." And that right there was his very last post before he went off to his meeting. Now we do have some news because the Arrowhead CEO claims it's a bug. There was a player who replied to Shams Georgiani bringing up the latest flamethrower concerns, to which the CEO responded, "It's a straight up bug, ... So this right here, while many of us were already aware that it was a bug because, you know, it shouldn't be like this, but it's reassuring to have official confirmation. Georgiani also responded to another player who mentioned how the recent patch has made the game nearly unplayable due to the crashes. This player said, "I rarely had crashes before the update, but now it's happened twice in 2 hours. Optimization is always hard, but bugs, however." In response, the CEO essentially expressed it's a mistake and replied, "One particularly nasty bug got in, being fixed, FML." So it turns out that not only did the hitbox bug slip through, but there's also a specific issue with the game crashing. I mentioned at the start that the developers have fixed a few crash problems, but as you can see from this post, the CEO admits they have messed up with the recent patch and that one specific bug slipped through. And you know, I completely understand that there's going to be moments where a bug manages to find its way into the patch. However, I feel it's fair to say that it's becoming a bit annoying seeing that there's been multiple patches for the crashing issue, and you know, there's never been a solid fix. I'd like to know everyone's experience with the newest patch. Have you experienced any crashing recently? If so, post your responses down below in the comment section. Let's talk about something positive. The Chief Executive Shams Georgiani gave us a status update for the future roadmap. Someone on the Discord asked if Arrowhead has any plans on revealing a roadmap soon, and Georgiani wrote back and said, "A proper roadmap that we can share is likely a bit out, but we should be able to share some. It's a bit sensitive, so we need to coordinate with our good friends at PlayStation." And with what he said, they're going to have to coordinate with Sony to properly release the roadmap. The reason they need to organize everything correctly this time around is because Sony has, in the past, accidentally revealed the Commando stratagem as well as 2 Warbonds at different times, which is quite a lot of premature announcements. So by organizing a plan with PlayStation, they should be able to limit or at least stop these early announcements. Speaking of a roadmap, there's another player who wanted to know if Shams could give any insight as to what the developers are currently working on, and Shams wrote, "Bug fixes, tweaks on enemies, and crash fixes in the short term. Big ol' roadmap in the mid to long term. We've been pretty clear on what the focus is short term. The Arrowhead developers, as you can see, are working non-stop, at least that's what it sounds like. And perhaps the next patch will contain a bunch of positive changes instead of what we received in yesterday's patch. The roadmap is still being discussed, which is good news, so maybe sometime soon we'll be able to see exactly what Arrowhead has planned. And with that being said, what would you like to see in the roadmap? Post your thoughts in the comment section below." The third question coming up next is about performance. Can the game's engine handle any more content that's being added? Shams wrote, "This is the source of the performance challenges. The more stuff we put in, swamps, new enemies, new weapons, etc., the more stuff is flying around on screen. We need to keep abreast of performance updates." The good news from this post, Shams didn't talk about a spaceship, which is great because I'd love to see more places to walk and explore on the Destroyer. It would give us all something fun to do. And personally, what I would like to see is an interactive computer where you can dive into the lore, and hey, maybe they could hide some secrets as well. Since we're on the topic of adding more content, someone on the official Helldivers 2 Discord said to Shams something along the lines of, "Is there plans to refine the game's design so that the player's skill and strategy can, better encounter enemy actions?" Essentially, some things like that. And Georgiani said in response, "There is one, of course, but what I think we need to do is evolve now that we're live and the game is much bigger success than we thought. Some of the truth we took for granted needs to be updated." From what it looks like, the Helldivers 2 success has kind of overwhelmed the developers. They're working on figuring out how to please everyone, and that right there in itself is a tough job, right? They've got to give us some cool new stuff, but, at the same time, with less bugs. I mean, every game has a few bugs that sneaks in, that's just how it goes. But what I'm getting at is, we all want more fun and less of those annoying crashes or just bugs in general. Now, the CEO went on to reply to a completely different member who essentially said that Helldivers 2 Vision seems like a Milsim team run and gun shooter, but overall it turned out to be a gritty, goofy game with a bunch of explosives. Georgiani replied to this member and said, "I think there's more nuance to it, but that's a good summary. One end is a Milshamish action game." Never heard that before. Anyways, he continues on to say, "And the other end is a bit of a goofball sci-fi action film simulator. And my hope is, of course, that those aren't in conflict with each other, but can be catered to via different ways of playing the game. Much like how Destiny 2 has stuff for PvP players, but it also has story stuff and raids. Clearly targeted at different groups in the community, but most online games operate in this fashion." Okay, at first I took this as if we were going to receive a PvP mode or some sort of raid, which to be honest, a raid would be awesome. I'm not too sure how I would feel about a PvP game mode, but I think for some of you that might be something that would intrigue you. Anyway, this will not be happening, at least that's what it seems, because a player basically said, "Why be mediocre at 12 things when the developers could be better at 1 to 3 things?" And Georgiani's response was, "Yeah, and I'm not saying we're going to do 12 things or that we'll do PvP, etc. But that one thing we're doing now clearly isn't working as well as we've hoped." Now, as you can see, this response makes it seem like Arrowhead is just a little bit unsure about their recent decisions, which could go either way, good or bad. What I'm saying is they might improve, or they might make the call that pushes the entire player base away. Do I believe they can steer Helldivers 2 in the right direction? Absolutely, they've got the power to flip everything around, do a complete turnaround, and drop some big content. They definitely can do it. It's just about not rushing it like last time with the Escalation of Freedom update, which was like pulling out a half-baked cake. So fast forward today, we've received an emergency hotfix. The bug that was causing the crashes has now been fixed. The developers just released a small hotfix, and it says right here, patch 01.001.005. This patch is an emergency hotfix addressing the Impaler crash. We deemed it worth bringing this one crash fix in now, in an attempt to minimize the crashes during the weekend. Thank you for your understanding. Fixed a common crash that occurs when killing the Impaler inside a stronghold. The crash bug has now officially been resolved, and it's great to see that the developers have released an emergency update, allowing us all to continue playing without the game crashing, which is just really awesome. Shams was understandably upset about the bug, when he said FML, but overall it's good to see that there's now a patch. But now things should be better. If you're experiencing a lot of crashing yesterday, today's update should significantly improve things. I say should because, with these patches, you never know. Something else just might slip through, like another crash bug. For instance, there's a player here who reported that they're still crashing even after the update. The only downside to this patch is that they haven't really reverted the changes to the charger, which everybody's blaming it on the flamethrower when in reality it's the charger, not the flamethrower. So all those videos I saw that said, hey, the flamethrower was nerfed again, it was actually the charger, not the flamethrower. Now, speaking of bugs, there's actually a player who experienced a very strange glitch with the stratagem where it essentially was on rapid fire. This clip right here comes from bsoft9, and I appreciate you allowing me to showcase this because this was absolutely crazy. I wonder if there are any other stratagems that have gone haywire recently. If you have experienced anything like this, let me know in the comments. Now, although we've talked about some bad news and some positive news, there might be some even more positive news because the recent major order success kind of hinted at that we might receive some sort of toxic gas warbond. Right here it says, the Automatons have been pushed back from the sectors close to Super Earth. Our high classification citizens have been protected. Their patriotic dedication rewarded with the guarantee of safety they deserve. This success would not have been possible without the extra chemical weapons provided by the disgraced soldiers who submitted counterfeit samples. Their non-stop work with highly toxic chemicals provided the boost we needed to push the Automatons back. Their debt to Super Earth has been repaid in full, and they have earned the right to serve Super Earth in their new role with clean slates. For those who do not know, there actually was some hackers who got into the game and completed the major order pretty fast. Now, with that being said, the developers have turned it into a story, and on top of that, they mentioned something about toxic gas weapons, which is really awesome. So at some point, we should see that in the next Warbond. Last but not least, Twinbeard talks a bit about the situation at Arrowhead and how everyone was stressed and they made mistakes based off of the stress. Right here he says, first off, thanks for all the kind words. Secondly, a lot of us are just coming back from summer vacation, so hopefully things will improve from here. We're aware that some decisions and communications have been lacking. We have several key areas we're focusing on at the moment. Among some are better internal processes and structures, and better comms will hopefully come of that as well. I know that we've asked for time and patience before, and I as well as AH overall are aware that you have to earn trust. Again though, things will continue to improve. I'd like to think that some of the mistakes that were made recently were due to stress and or office being understaffed. Regardless of whether that was the case or not, we're moving forward. I'm looking forward to getting down and dirty this fall, and apart from hopefully an improving game experience, there'll also be more community and content stuff coming, streams, vlogs, more blogs, AMAs, etc. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, I said something along the lines of, Arrowhead is actually trying to improve, they're actually trying to update the game, and that is what it appears to be. Now, sure, there are a bunch of bugs and glitches that pop up, but again, that happens with just about every game. Now, on that same note, it's been quite common for Arrowhead to, give us a bunch of buggy patches, which is really what has happened. However, on that note, this all could be because the developers have been away for some time due to vacation, so maybe when they're fully staffed, we'll see some improvements. But with that being said, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. This is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to comment down below and be featured in the next video, you can. So yeah, just comment down below. The first comment is from Spartan in Virginia. Maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't have pushed a huge update while almost your entire staff was on vacation. Arrowhead. Not a bad way to look at it. But there's also another comment here by Kyle Page 7491, quote, thousands of hours testing, end quote. They don't test at all, this is just a lie. And last but not least, we have WolfMax1223. The biggest problem with enemy spawns is that we don't have the resources to deal with them. One of the top ways they could fix that is just to give us decent equipment. Side note, they need to quit blaming everything on taking a vacation. If I leave my job for 6 weeks and everything goes to hell, I don't get to just shrug and say, well, I was on vacation, especially when another problematic patch was released while they were on vacation. With that said, those are the top 3 comments. If you guys would like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you guys have not done so, subscribe, turn on notifications, and do all of that good stuff. See you guys in the next one.